Books are not just words on a page or a fine binding or an interesting provenance. They're truly more than the sum of their parts, with physicality being an important part of understanding and experiencing them. Top-down digitization begins to capture this physicality and is certainly an important point of access for many library collections. And accurate photographs are an indispensable part of modern bookselling. But both of these lack the movement and dynamism inherent to referencing a book in person. Creating video content can help bridge the gap between a relatively static digital experience and an active in-person experience, enhancing a viewer's physical awareness of an object and also allowing for active storytelling. They further serve as asynchronous educational resources that can be used for various different purposes. My video series, Bite-Sized Book History, strives to be a part of this bridge and is a manifestation of my goals as an educator. It brings together the concepts of meeting audiences where they are, in this case online, and emphasizing the physical side of book history. You may or may not know me as Book Historia, that social media rare book person. I have organically built up a sizable following across Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube and other places, posting about old books. I honestly kind of stumbled across this method of education. I began my social media presence as many of us did, posting pictures of my dinner or nice cats that I got to pet. But as I progressed through my master's degrees, I started posting pictures of the old books I got to interact with through coursework or in my part-time job at a used bookshop. To my surprise, this generated a lot of interesting conversations with curators and institutions that I thought I was far inferior to as a lowly grad student. This encouraged me to post more of that sort of content and fine-tune my tone and visual resources. And in a way that is still shocking to me, the followers poured in. My experiences as a public book historian on social media deeply inform both how I make videos and why I started making videos in the first place. Bite-Sized Book History is emblematic of this. Briefly, Bite-Sized Book History is composed of 5 to 10-minute videos in seasons of 6 episodes, each episode focusing on a bibliographic topic such as volvels, foredge decoration, the white glove myth, and arsenical bookbindings. There are many different ways to make video content. You'll hear about live streaming and TikToks in the rest of this session, and there are also possibilities for much shorter videos on Instagram and on YouTube's newish Shorts platform. But this talk will focus on longer form content from around 5 to 30 minutes. I'll talk about the broader ideas that go into deciding what kind of content I create, as well as some nitty-gritty logistical issues to consider before starting a video project. I'll also highlight a few things that work and a few things that didn't in some of my videos. I don't create content in a vacuum. Many people use social media as an educational tool. Why have I been particularly successful? Key to my social media and video philosophy is a concept I like to call Bibcomm, a portmanteau of bibliographic communication. Cribbing from the definition of SciComm, the practice of popular scientific communication, Bibcomm could be defined as the public practice of informing, educating, and raising awareness of book history-related topics. Like SciComm, Bibcomm aims to enthrall and entertain a general audience while simultaneously educating. The tone of Bibcomm makes it possible to pull book history out of the ivory tower that it is sometimes perceived to inhabit, and to unlock the doors of the reading room to new and historically underserved users. While the ideas captured by Bibcomm may seem fairly self-evident or part of extant outreach efforts, I find it useful to codify the concept to keep myself aware of the depth and breadth of the audience that will come into contact with these projects on social media. Content is not a dirty word in Bibcomm. You won't be able to cover all the nuances of a topic in an hour-long video, let alone in 10 minutes. So it's important to try to create multiple ways into a topic rather than simply compress decades of complex research into a video-shaped box. This may mean pop culture references. It may mean cringy jokes. It may mean painting with broader strokes than you're used to if you most often work with researchers or students. Video Bibcomm is about holding your audience's attention long enough to educate. If you're posting videos publicly, it won't just be students watching them for assignments. There will be no requirement that they have to watch it all the way through. Making a video evocative or entertaining ensures that people stick around to hear what you have to say. That being said, the average casual video watcher has limits, even in the face of great material. Across the platform, the average YouTube video is about 11 minutes long. Various social media tips and tricks sites advise a length of anywhere from 2 to 15 minutes as best to garner and retain the largest audience. But I personally find a window of 5 to 10 minutes ideal, with most of my content clocking in at 7 to 9 minutes. I find this to be a sweet spot of space to do a little bit more than scratch the surface of a topic, but it keeps me from going too hog wild with unnecessary detail. I've experimented with slightly longer form videos of up to 30 minutes, but found the audience really dropped off around the halfway mark, and I'll talk more about that later. I will take a brief detour here to note that before I embarked on making bite-sized book history, my experience with making and editing video was absolutely nothing. It quite literally started from scratch in the earliest days of the COVID lockdown with only my own personal funds. You can eventually get somewhere by bashing your head against a wall for hours and hours trying to teach yourself how to produce resources in a media you've never heard before. But I will be the first to tell you this is not an efficient use of time, particularly if you're looking to start making video series as part of your professional duties. Towards that end, I've put together 2 videos on the art of making videos about books, which are available on my YouTube channel. They cover everything from writing your script to the technicalities of editing on the free software Blender. And if you want more detailed how-tos, I encourage you to check them out. But I also encourage you to explore hiring a professional production company. The cost may seem high up front, but factoring in staff time needed to learn the techniques and software and the funds needed to acquire the equipment may make outsourcing more efficient. The Linda Hall Library did this for their Paper Cuts series of videos, and the result is gorgeous. If you want to move forward with a video project, here are my 2 top tips, which are applicable to both long and short form videos. My absolute #1 piece of logistical advice for video making is to get a tripod. If that sounds simple, that's because it is. They make a huge impact for how cheap they are. Tripods are good both for the books and for your image as a professional. Using a tripod means both your hands are available to better handle a book freely or in supports, and you can model best practice. It also just makes your videos look better, which instills a subconscious respect for the content you present. If your video is shaky, crooked, or awkward, it can turn people off, even if what you're talking about is riveting or the book you're showing is amazing. A second piece of advice is to be conscious of your video orientation. For many, shooting video on your smartphone will probably be easier than buying a video camera of some sort, and depending on your phone, may be of comparable quality anyway. Smartphones shoot vertical video. This is great if you're posting purely on social media like Instagram and TikTok, which are designed to be looked at on a phone screen. But if you're making longer form YouTube videos, you will want to make sure you turn your phone sideways to get into the landscape orientation. YouTube is a more flexible platform that lends itself to viewing on computer screens and TVs. So watching a vertical video there results in a lot of wasted black space, as you can see in the example up top. The landscape orientation makes sure you make the best use of all your screen real estate, and it makes it clear that you've considered your audience. The key tenet of my style of video making is having a human presence. This is also a key tenet of the majority of the most popular videos on the internet. Viewers want an avatar of sorts when they're watching a video. It's why the biggest video game live streams show footage not just of a game being played, but of the person playing it. Having a host figure is particularly important in book history videos to give a sense of scale. Scale is a piece of spatial information frequently lost in digitization, as all scanned books kind of look about the same size on a screen, whether they're an elephant folio or a pocket-sized manuscript. But don't just stand next to the books. Manipulate them, turn pages, lift flaps, spin volvels. Seeing the book in motion is the chief advantage of making video, and seeing someone actually handling the books drives home the point that they are made to be used. It also circles back to the concept of host as avatar. It helps viewers quite literally envision themselves in rare book spaces. It is important to consider this aspect if you have the resources to feature a host that is not you. It is an opportunity to create an entry point for audiences who have not traditionally been able to see themselves working with rare materials. But having a human face on screen alone will not engage viewers. A video is not the same as a presentation over Zoom or at a conference. Reading directly from notes while a PowerPoint flashes behind you is not the most effective use of the media. Different camera angles and editing are your friends here and make your videos more dynamic. I prioritize eye contact with the camera in my videos, which means I appear to not look at my notes on camera. I accomplish this by simply editing out the footage of me looking at my notes on camera. B-roll is also a good way to add variety to your video. If the footage of a person talking in front of a book is A-roll, then the close-up shots, other footage, and stills are B-roll. B-roll is another way to make your video experience more akin to a reading room experience in real life. You can point to a detail and people can lean in closer to see what you mean in the reading room. But in video, you can do the leaning for viewers by adding relevant B-roll. You can also use B-roll to bring in outside resources, whether that means filming books in different reading rooms or bringing in examples from locations you can't get to easily, or even short clips from TV or movies. B-roll makes your video larger than the confines of your reading room or living room. With these concepts in mind, let's take a closer look at a couple of my videos and what worked and what didn't. I've made 20 episodes of bite-sized book history, 4 bookshelf tours, and my 2 video making tutorials, as well as some other stuff. As you can see from the screen, the amount of views I get on videos varies quite a bit, with a general upward trend for my most recent videos, with a couple outliers here and there. I expected some of these topics to get big numbers due to their conceptual stickiness. The white glove myth is very pervasive among non-rare book folks, and the idea of books containing arsenic is shocking enough to draw people in. Others, such as the episodes about volvels and foredge decoration, have been popular due to the unique dynamism of the concepts. These topics have always performed well on other social media platforms, so I knew they would be ideal candidates for longer form exploration. And while I think my episode about bookselling is very interesting, I think at least a few viewers were drawn in purely by recognizing Rebecca Romney from her TV presence. Other videos have, in my opinion, underperformed. I am genuinely surprised that the episode about grotesques, the marginal monsters in illuminated manuscripts, has not yet hit 1,000 views, and the episode about chained books remains under 500, despite a Rihanna reference. Both of these topics are what I would consider sticky and have done well on other platforms. So why did these flop while others took off? The short answer is I don't know. A more speculative answer touches on the hidden costs of video making: posting times, keyword integration, promotion, and the algorithm. I may have simply posted these videos on low traffic days. When I'm releasing new seasons, I always post new videos on Tuesdays at 7 a.m. for the sake of time zones and regularity, but the internet can be anything but regular. I may have included a word in my description that YouTube flagged, or I may not have included enough words for the search function to serve my content accurately. Maybe I didn't push these episodes enough on my other social media platforms. Or maybe for reasons beyond human comprehension, the YouTube algorithm just didn't like them. To set your videos up for success, you should at least be aware of best practices in these areas, and also be aware that these practices change with the whims of the platform's priorities. The Hootsuite website usually stays on top of these changes and offers concise advice on ideal times to post and so on, so check them out. My bookshelf tour videos have also universally not done great. These were inspired by the tone of BookTube, the video genre propagated by readers who purposely cultivate bookish identities by detailing their hauls of new books from shops and by talking through recent reads. I tried to go more unscripted for my bookshelf tours, and I think they suffer for it. They're too long and incorporate fewer visually compelling edits, resulting in bad audience retention. I think if I return to the format in the future, I will write up some talking points and riff from there, rather than speaking completely off the cuff. However, despite their low view count, they all have a relatively high ratio of comments to views. A high view count is one measure of success. People engaging in the comments section is another. What does success with a video project look like? It's not always immediately obvious and has many tiers. The most classic measure of success is if your videos get more people into your space physically, but that is particularly difficult to measure unless you're asking everyone who comes in through the door how they heard about you. Video content can be understood as a piece of a concept Rebecca Romney calls karmic bookselling. The idea that engagement may not immediately result in a sale, but may contribute to a sale in the long term. This is a concept that very easily maps onto education efforts. Seeing one video about rare books may not cause a potential user to leap out of their seats and head down to the nearest special collections or antiquarian book dealer, but it plants a seed of interest. Outside of clearly delineated classroom settings, education is a long game and can be quite diffused. It is often a matter of planting a number of these seeds over the duration of your online presence, seeds that may never sprout, or that may lead someone into the field of rare books. Rare book video making is currently nearing the end of its incunable period. As more and more rare book professionals thrash out techniques, styles, and standards, we will likely see videos become more polished and sophisticated. I'm not making these predictions out of nowhere. Other fields have gone through similar processes, particularly video game journalism and coverage. I mentioned streamers earlier, but they are just the tip of the iceberg of video game video content. The video game video as we know it is around 10 years old, and the format was pioneered by YouTube channels such as Feminist Frequency. Today, the game journalist site Polygon hosts a robust YouTube presence, posting 10 to 20-minute explainer videos about topics such as why it's hard to animate horses and the origin of nonsense sound effects that stand in for speech when a game decides not to give a character actual voice lines. We book people can take many lessons from videos like this, particularly in tone and content. Their ratio of humorous quips to real educational content is balanced, as is the way they address complex topics. I don't know anything about computer graphics, but that horse animation video was absolutely fascinating. I suppose I'm particularly attracted to the example of video game videos because I'm coming to them in a similar way as viewers may come to rare books. I am not a gamer by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm aware of video games as media. I appreciate that Polygon videos don't make me feel inferior for never having played any of the games they're talking about, by gradually ramping up the complexity of the information they offer. Replace games in these instances with books, and you can see what I'm getting at. Many people watching bite-sized book history have never been in a reading room or handled a rare book, but they're definitely aware of books, and I want to ensure my videos foster the same cultivation of interest. Polygon and other video game journalist sites and content creators offer a tried and tested roadmap for the future of rare book video content. I look forward to seeing the new and interesting things our field will continue to do with videos. Thank you.